Hi, everyone. This is Kat Wong on the Value Vibes. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have a special guest, Nate Vogel. Nate is a leader in sales leadership for almost 18 years and 13 years in the sales enablement space. So, for almost 30 plus years in sales and sales enablement. Thank you for joining us, Nate. And if you don't mind, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience today.
Yeah, you bet. Honored to be here. Nate, live here in Seattle. It's actually sunny today, but 18 years in sales leadership and publishing. And I was doing so much enablement as a sales leader, even though we had kind of the fundamental training happenings. But I still thought that extra little bit to help the team that I was managing get a little bit better. So that's the passion of enablement. And that's when I joined Tableau. So in 2012, I actually joined Tableau to drive and build out the sales enablement function for 9 years. Two of those nine being with Salesforce, then jumped over to Gong, running sales enablement there for 2 years. And now, as you know, here at Databricks, I think day 20 or something like that. Honored to do the same thing, running sales enablement here.
You've had quite a career. Wow, 30 plus years in sales and sales enablement. I love to, have a conversation with you and also share with the rest of the audience, just a little bit more around your expertise within this field. And so while Databricks is so lucky to have you and we know that we'll benefit from the wealth of experience that you have, I love to set that Databricks part of it aside and just learn a little bit more around just your experience in the industry. I think the first question that comes to mind when I think of working with sales is oftentimes, what are some top challenges in sales today? By understanding this question, it helps us better understand how can we have a more targeted solution. So from your experience, I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, and I'll answer it, kind of more from a sales lens, and that's partly to do with leading a team and then my enablement
Yeah.
background. So yeah, one of the top challenges that I think sales is trying to solve is to articulate and lead with value and understanding what problems people are trying to solve. So not only am I trying to do that in sales enablement and teaching account executives to understand, customers well, understand the problems they're trying to solve, but also make sure that you can articulate and lead with value, and also your mission statement, or understanding the main problems you're trying to solve, but making sure you can articulate and lead with that. One other really important point, typically another challenge is making sure that sellers and sales leaders understand that typically you're also a part of the solution. In other words, that not your entire platform is going to solve every single problem. When I have people call me, which is a lot, trying to sell me on a certain thing, a lot of times they'll sometimes lead with feature function or lead with cost, which, by the way, that's super important. But I think go up a step. Talk about your mission statement and what is your company trying to do. When I was at Tableau, we were proud to say we help people see and understand data. And that was when large explosion of helping not just analysts understand data, but everyone. Databricks, we know this, that we're literally, and I love saying this, we're trying to solve the toughest problems using data and AI. And then lead with value, but also make sure you're leading with value, understanding the problems that you're trying to solve within the account. And then be humble, understand that you're potentially just part of the solution, but also important positioning. So those are couple of the key challenges that I see, at least right now, from my lens.
I love that. Being humble is so important. From my experience, I know I talk to customers and I talk to sales team and work with them day in, day out. Leading it with value is so important, but it actually means very different to different people, right? On one hand, when you lead with value, I see a lot of sales folks who really just talk about it from a dollar and cents perspective, like who can do it cheaper. And sometimes it feels to me that that doesn't always communicate the true value of a solution and being able to help a customer. As in addition to straight race to the bottom from a cost perspective, how does the solution really enable a company to increase productivity and using that productivity to drive innovation and race to the top, right? I'd love to learn a little bit more about that from your experience. How do you coach sales through that part?
Yeah, and I think I might steal another quote from my former chief revenue officer, Dan Miller at Tableau. He used the word "and." I think it's important that we can articulate TCO. It's super important, especially now. Cost is important. Many companies are trying to do more with less and ultimately increase in productivity. But it's not an or, it's definitely an and. And that's where I think you got to make sure to understand and articulate exactly what you just said, that you have specific use cases, that you do not only discovery, but understanding, what people's business is all about. And then can really look in the mirror, or just really kind of pause and say, does my solution actually do help with that? And I think you then need to make sure that you have some really strong proof points. And then I think, again, it's an and where you can hit all of these things. I still think relationships matter too. So building out trust and understanding that you become a thought leader within the space. Not only do you understand the problem they're trying to solve, what the solution that we have to offer is, but also can you bring things to a customer that they might not even already be on their radar. That's, again, one reason of many reasons why I joined Databricks. I really feel like the AEs and the company and the people within it, I'm honored to be here, are really bringing to customers things that that's not even on their radar as far as thought leadership. And that relationship and that showcases ultimate value. I still think then helps companies come together and say, hey, let's partner together, let's work together, or I'll buy your solution or services and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think two things that what you said that resonate is, one is the and story, is TCO, and how can we help, innovate faster, and linking that to their overall priorities and moving that forward and really understanding our customers. I think that's so important to really understand. It's not an or, it's an and piece. That's such a good differentiator right there. And then part two is I noticed that you mentioned a little bit more around just building trust, right? I know within sales, we talk about it all the time, but it's a lot easier said than done. There's so much that goes into it. And the one example that I love that you mentioned is around, can you give a piece of information to a customer that they may not have known, right? So what that really entails from an enablement perspective is it really means you have to take time to really understand your customers, how they make money, and what are the differentiators, and how can you help them up level or continue to innovate faster. Doing that research piece of it is part of what builds that trust.
Once you understand that, then how do you actually influence, whether you're in sales leadership, or enablement? How do we change behaviors? Potentially you're always used to leading with TCO or leading with cost or potentially showcasing feature function. How do you influence sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love to learn more because it's one thing to talk about challenge. It's another to actually influence an entire sales organization of that change management of behavior. It's, from my experience, it can be quite challenging. So love to learn how you've done it in the past.
Yeah, you bet. And this is why I'm in this profession, right? So I absolutely love this concept. So first, if we can help sellers understand that and articulate that, and again, really important, then you have to say, okay, well, listen, how do we help change behaviors and influence sellers? So in my opinion, this is my experience only, or 30 plus years of my experience, I have found the only way to change behaviors for sellers and really influence is by modeling, by example. And so when we run an enablement initiative, that might be new feature on a product that we want to showcase. We might want to showcase competitive differentiators. We want to make sure and maybe articulate the value of a partner. We have to model that first. So I'm a huge proponent and fan of manager enablement, making sure our managers, by the way, lead with value, understand and articulate the mission, understand that we're just part of the solution, so that if they're involved in an account, they're either showcasing the modeling by example or they're coaching to it. I have found that to be the largest behavior change and way to influence sellers. One other sub point that I think super important, especially at large organizations, and I saw the power of this, is partners. So again, let's go with where we started. If we can make sure we lead with the mission, we understand the value, we can understand the problems we're trying to solve, we can actually articulate that we're part of the solution. Let's go to the second part. We lead with not only the innovation story, the TCO, but also, and all these other important components, use cases, customer stories. Then our partners saying the same thing. And so that's why I'm a huge fan of embracing partners, understanding that we're trying to solve the same problems within an account, make sure that we can actually say the same thing. And I have found partners to be a tremendous influence in the customer, but also helping reinforce the behaviors to sellers so that they're articulating the same thing. So partners is another big component.
Right. And from a customer's perspective, that's also really helpful to have that one experience, right? Of everyone basically singing the same exact song, whether it's, the sales manager, the direct AEs, the partners, I feel like this is what it means also to be customer obsessed, is thinking through what is the customer experience going to be, and how can we, delight them throughout our day-to-day encounter. Absolutely. So the last question I love to ask is just a little bit more around you, some fun facts. I know you're in sales for 30 years, and how did you get into sales? Actually, I started out as a teacher, so my career was very different.
Yeah, actually, speaking of parents in teaching, my mom was a teacher for a long time, taught special education for 40 years. My dad was in sales. So when I went to university, I actually saw a job as an internship where you could sell educational books door to door, called Southwestern. So for 6 summers, paid my way through school, 100% commission, went and talked to thousands of families every summer to promote and sell educational books to families. By the way, speaking of mission, we always, told those families, that we're trying to, better them in education. And then I told the sellers, hey, you're doing a good thing promoting education. So I did that for 6 years, and then got into sales leadership. And then, as I talk about, then got into enablement, and been blessed to kind of do this for 30 years.
Was there any one thing that you learned in your early days in sales? Was it, whether it's grit or whether it's perseverance? I love to understand, like, what was one takeaway that you really learned and have embraced, since then?
Well, a lot, but I'll probably say something if people know me fairly well. I love serving. I have found the only way to truly have success in selling and leading teams and running enablement is through serving and understanding exactly, how to do that. And we've talked about that a little bit today. By the way, this is not just a profession. I tell my son every day when he goes to school, who are you going to help today? Extend your reach, understand that, you can actually have impact. So I absolutely think service and being service minded, and been blessed to have a lot of success with that. And it's one of many reasons, again, why I'm here at Databricks. I always say myself and my team work for Databricks, and we're honored to serve, and I'm sure honored to serve here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are so honored to have you. And thank you for coming on, Nate. Really appreciate it. Hope this was really helpful to all the audience today. If there's any questions or any topics that you'd love to learn more about, please do comment. And we're happy to continue these sessions. Hopefully it was helpful. Thank you, everyone. You're listening to the Value Vibes. Thanks, everyone.